The Nexus station hung in the void between three dying stars, a twisted monument to desperation and greed. Built from the salvaged remains of 1,000 ships, it attracted the galaxy's most dangerous outcasts, pirates, smugglers, assassins, and worse. The air recyclers wheezed with age, the gravity generators flickered sporadically, and the corridors reeked of engine coolant and fear. Commander Zethkar of the Velkarian Empire studied the human through the observation deck's reinforced Transperistil. The creature sat alone at a corner table in the station's cantina, seemingly oblivious to the dozen predators watching him from the shadows. 3 different species had already marked the human as prey: the chittering skeks with their venomous claws, the hulking Garathi with their bone-crushing strength, and worst of all, the void wraiths with their psychic torture techniques. Fascinating, Zethkar murmured to his aide. The human has been here for 6 standard hours. By all statistical models, he should be dead by now. The aide, a nervous Flutari named Pip, wrung his tentacles anxiously. Commander, perhaps we should warn him. The mortality rate for new arrivals is 97% within the first day. Zethkar's mandibles clicked in amusement. And spoil the experiment? No, Pip. I want to see what makes this species so persistent. Down in the cantina, Marcus Chen finished reading the station directory on his datapad and looked up at the approaching waitress, a 6-armed arachnoid whose species was known for their aggressive territoriality. What do you want, mammal? She hissed, her chelicerae dripping with irritation. Marcus smiled politely. Coffee, please. Black if you have it. The waitress's 8 eyes blinked in confusion. Coffee? What is coffee? It's a stimulant beverage made from roasted beans. Bitter, caffeinated, essential for human cognitive function. Marcus pulled up an image on his datapad. Looks like this one brewed. The arachnoid stared at the brown liquid in bewilderment. We don't serve coffee. We serve fermented algae wine, synthetic protein shots, and neural inhibitor cocktails. Ah. Marcus nodded understandingly. Well, could I get some hot water then? I've got instant coffee packets in my bag. The waitress skittered away, muttering about strange mammals and their incomprehensible requests. From across the cantina, a massive Garathi warrior named Brutus Rex watched the exchange with growing irritation. Humans were supposed to be easy prey, soft, weak, and cowardly. Yet this one sat there with the casual confidence of an apex predator, asking for some unknown substance called coffee, as if he were dining at a luxury resort. Brutus Rex stood, his 3-meter frame casting a shadow over half the cantina. Conversations died as he stomped toward the human's table, each footstep making the deck plates groan. Human, he growled, his voice like grinding stone. You sit in my territory. You owe tribute. 1,000 credits or your entrails become decoration. Marcus looked up from his datapad with mild interest. Oh, hi there. Sorry, didn't realize this was your spot. Mind if I finish setting up my coffee first? Long journey and I'm absolutely useless without caffeine. The Garathi's jaw dropped. In 30 years of intimidation, no one had ever responded to his death threat by asking to finish a beverage. Did you hear what I said, soft skin? Tribute or death? Right, yes, got it. Marcus rummaged through his travel pack and pulled out a small camping stove, a metal cup, and a packet of instant coffee. Look, I'm new here, still figuring out the local customs. But could we maybe discuss this after my coffee? I promise I'll be much more reasonable once I've had my morning fix. The waitress returned with a steaming mug of water, setting it down with trembling arms before fleeing to the far side of the cantina. Marcus tore open his coffee packet and stirred it into the hot water. The rich, earthy aroma filled the immediate area, causing several nearby aliens to lean closer with curiosity. What is that smell? Whispered a Flutari merchant. Smells like comfort, murmured a Zephyrian trader. Smells like home, added a crystalline entity, though no one was sure how a silicon-based life form understood the concept of home. Brutus Rex found himself inhaling deeply, his aggressive posture unconsciously relaxing. What is that? Substance? Coffee, Marcus replied, taking a careful sip and sighing contentedly. Oh, that's the stuff. Now then, you were saying something about tribute? The Garathi warrior shook his massive head, trying to clear the strange, soothing fog that had settled over his thoughts. Yes, tribute. 1,000. Tell you what, Marcus interrupted, pulling another packet from his bag. How about I make you a cup instead? Fair trade, coffee for conversation. I'm genuinely curious about this place. 20 minutes later, Commander Zethkar watched in amazement as the most feared warrior in 3 sectors sat across from the human, carefully cradling a steaming mug and listening intently to Marcus's explanation of coffee cultivation techniques. Impossible, Zethkar breathed. Commander, Pip whispered urgently, the void wraiths are moving. 3 hooded figures materialized from the shadows, their psychic emanations causing nearby patrons to whimper and clutch their heads. The void wraiths fed on fear and suffering, and they'd been stalking the human since his arrival. The lead wraith extended a skeletal hand toward Marcus, preparing to flood his mind with visions of cosmic horror and existential dread. Marcus looked up from his conversation with Brutus Rex. Oh, hey, you guys want some coffee too? I think I've got enough packets for everyone. The wraith paused, its psychic probe encountering something unprecedented. Instead of the expected terror and despair, it found only caffeine-fueled contentment. The human's mind was a warm, comfortable place that smelled like roasted beans and felt like a lazy Sunday morning. What is this mental state? The wraith rasped. Caffeinated, Marcus replied cheerfully. Want to try it? Fair warning, though it's addictive, but in a good way. An hour later, the cantina had transformed. Brutal pirates shared tables with nervous merchants, all united by small cups of dark liquid. The void wraiths sat in a circle, their hoods down for the first time in centuries, discussing the philosophical implications of caffeine addiction with a table of reformed assassins. Brutus Rex raised his mug. To the human who brought coffee, to the Nexus station. The cantina erupted in cheers from a dozen different species. Up in the observation deck, Commander Zethkar turned to his aide. Pip, update the official records. Humans don't survive impossible situations through strength or cunning. Then how do they do it, Commander? Zethkar watched as Marcus demonstrated proper coffee brewing technique to an audience of transfixed criminals. They survive by making the impossible situation comfortable. Below, Marcus took another sip of his coffee and smiled. Sometimes, he reflected, the universe just needed a good cup of coffee and someone willing to share it. The Nexus station would never be the same.